Hello and welcome to this brief tutorial on how to set up a page in InDesign for a 6-page A4 leaflet. So initially what you do is you go and open the InDesign, go to the icon on the Mac, and we open the program. What we're going to do in this particular tutorial is just use a straight A4 and divide the pages by using the margins and guides. There's a couple of different ways you can do it, but this we find will be the simplest. So if you just create a new document, we actually want A4 landscape, which is 297 by 210. On that size, you set your margins here, although you can actually change them at any time. And for something document of that size, I would usually set them to 8 millimeters around the side. So it'll be just one page that we'll set up, and we'll just have a look at that. I'll also knock off facing pages, so our pages one are going to end up above the other. And we just create the page. And there's our A4 document. We've got the 8 millimeters running all the way around the edge. Now, because we want this obviously split into thirds, we use rulers. If your rulers aren't showing, press Command R, and your rulers will come up. And what we do with this is we just drag guides from the side, and what we're going to do is split it into 3 sizes. So basically what I'd do initially is go to A4 is 297. So initially I'm just going to go to 99 at the top. You can see that's the measurement at the top, the X. Exactly, that's where your guide goes to. And then we'll drop another guide, which will be another 99 from 99. So that'll be 198. If you struggle with size and accuracy for that, you can actually use the magnifying glass and just go in a bit closer. I'm just clicking my mouse, and when I go over the guide, I can just move it and I'll just take it to exactly 99, so it's perfect. And then go on the magnifying glass. You can press Command 1, it'll just fill the screen and show you the size. So that's the basic size, but obviously at the moment we haven't got a grid. So we'll need to create the grid. We've got 8 millimeters at this side. We've got 8 millimeters here. And bearing in mind it's a leaflet and you're looking at the face of it, your right hand side is going to be your cover. And I'll just drop that in with a text box. I'm just going to drop, just for a guide, just drop a text box in there, just so we know. And I'll center it and I'll just put cover. I'm not going to set any fonts up at the moment. And that's basically our cover. If I keep my finger on the Alt button and drag that across, again, nothing's lining up at the moment. That is going to be your back cover. Then I go back to the direction tool, deselect, put my finger on the Alt button and drag across. And that will be what we call the outside back cover. Or, well, to make it simple, I'll call this, which is effectively going to be page 4. The back cover will be, I'll press the return on that and put page 6. The cover will be page 1. Now that's a simple setup, but what we haven't got at the moment is our grid. And basically page 4, when that folds in, needs to be slightly smaller, because when it folds in, it's going to actually go inside page 6. And so it doesn't butt up and it doesn't crease and it look untidy, you need to make that slightly smaller. So what I would do with this measurement here, page 4, we're going to make it slightly smaller. And what I'm going to do is make it 97. I'll just make it millimeters. To do that, I'm just going to go closely into it and move the guide to 97. You see that the top left-hand corner, it changes, that measurement changes, that changes to 97. And the rest, I'm going to move the other one so 97 from there, and that'll be 99. It'll make the front cover larger. So what we do, we're going to move that across. And we'll make that 196. So that makes that 99. And I'll put that in there just so you can remember it. 99 millimeters. And then by default, I'll use a hand tool to move that across. That will leave this. I'll just draw it. That'll leave your front cover 101. Well, I'll just take off that border off the border so I'm exactly with that. I'm going to make that. So we've basically got 101, 99, and 97. And that should add up to 297, which is the size that we want. I'll just delete that. So we'll just delete that. So there is our prayer. I'll press Command 1, and that leaves it like that. But what we want is an 8mm. To set a grid up, we need 8mm borders all the way around here. So basically, remember we set that 97? What I'm going to do here is put another guide, and that's going to be 989. And that'll give you my 8mm, on which will effectively be the fold. And where that's 97, I'm going to add 8. So that'll be 106. Again, it will give me that. And then the guide, I'm just going to pull across there. And where that is 96, I'm going to go add 96. And if that's 204, that's another 8mm. And then the one here, which is from 196, if we do 198. Again, you don't have to worry about these. You can move them at any time. So that's it. And that's our grid. That doesn't look right. If I'm looking closely, I'll go closer into it. See, that distance looks slightly wrong. So we see what I've got here. 97. If that measures 97. That should be 89. And that distance there. That should be 97. It's this one that's wrong. So 97, that should be 105. So I'm just slightly moving it across till it's perfect. And you see the measurement in the top left-hand corner is 105. And then press Command 1, and that will give us, and that basically sets up our grid. And I'm just going to put these just for neatness. I'm just going to move these across. And that, so they sit perfectly. You can adjust the size of your boxes, like you say, you're looking at them. You just move across and you feel it snaps to the grid that you've set up. So you look at that, and that's perfect. And that's our three pages. The smaller one, the middle one, the larger page. Remember what I said it would be? 101 millimeters. And that is basically a simple one column grid. If I looked at some text, I just got some text in there. If we did it as a one column, and I'll just put some placeholder text in there, type placeholder text, and it drops in there. It goes into a large, it always does 12 points, the default. On this type of leaflet, the text should be around about 9 point. We'll put some leading in there, like say leading, space between the lines, about 14 point. So that would basically be a one column leaflet. Now you can get a bit fancy if you want, and you can do it 2 columns. And what you do with that is, you get your measurement of your box, your wide, and you see that, and that's, I've selected that. So to make this 2 columns, if you wanted to 8, usually 2 columns, I would have a slightly narrower column width between the columns that is to the edge of the margins. What I'm just going to do is put my finger on the Alt button, copy that text, move that across. You see how it's slightly larger because we have to make it larger. Move that across. Like the simple way to do 2 columns is to do columns as text. You can do it as text, or you can link it. Up here, you can just click that. It's 2 columns, and then I'll put 5 millimeters between it. And you can see that's the difference between a 2 column grid and a 3 column. And if you were to put photographs on there and you wanted to add your guides, what I would do with that is just grab a guide along, and I would drop that quite simply into there, and you'll find that that should be perfect. Just see it as a key thing. So that's a 2 column grid and a 3 column grid. Now that's the straightforward aspect of what we're doing, and I will save that, and I'll save it as a 34 leaflet. And I would just put that into, for the moment, I'll just leave it onto my desktop actually. That's a 34 leaflet, and that's the side. Now, what we need to look at here, what I would do, I would call it pages. Pages and layers. We'll still start using these because these two are quite important things. Now, pages, you can see we've just got 1 page. Now, the easiest way to give yourself your other 3 pages is to select it and duplicate the spread. And then you just need to change the information on that spread. So basically, we've got 6 pages. So this, looking at the inside of your leaflet, will be page 2. That will now be the back cover. This is going to be page 3. And this is going to be page 4. We'll drop that. If I just go to that, up to page 4's. Deliberate mistake, that is actually page 5. So you've got page 5, 6, and 1, and then we go back, page 2, 3, and 4. And you can see how your columns are set up there quite nicely. Now, can you see the problem you've got there? Basically, your cover will be opposite page 2, will print on the back of page 2, and that column width is too narrow. We need to narrow this one down and move your grid across. Now, the easiest way to do that is just scroll in and remember the sizes. This now will be 101. 99, the size stays the same, and this becomes 97. So what you do with this, you move this grid over, guide rather, over to 101. And then this becomes, this is your margin, will be 93. And this should be 109. We're adding 8 because that's the column with it. Then we'll do this. So again, because that's 97, That's 101. So this should be 200. We had 99 to 101. So that now becomes 200. This becomes 192. Just taking 8 off it, because that's the margin that we were dealing with. And this becomes 210. Actually, it doesn't. It becomes 29. I'm just going to double check that with a little box. There's a lot of things with boxes. 8mm box. If I get the board off of that, just make sure it's 8mm. Just to make sure everything's accurate. That little box is just going to give me my accuracy. I'll move this across. Sometimes do that rather than measure it. I can actually delete that. And then we moved our grid. You can see how these boxes moved across. So basically, that now becomes 101. This becomes 99. And that becomes 87. And there's our pages 2, 3, and 4. And obviously this grid moves across. So I'll just move you 2 columns of text. And our line. And there's your, if you look, there's your 6-page document, all set up, ready to go. Now what I would do with this, if you want, finally, I just mentioned layers, we operate out layers. So you don't move your grid, what I would do, we've got that set up, we don't know the text that we're actually going to drop in there. So you don't move the grid, I would create another layer, new layer, and I would call that information. That's where all your information is going to go, your text, your grid. This layer, I'll double click it, layer 1, and call it grid. Then I would lock that by just clicking that. Now you can't move any of that. You can't move any of that information. That locks that grid. Now, if you wanted to delete it, or if you wanted to say use this column of text, what you can do is just highlight it and use this little blue square here and move to the top. And see it changes red and the text changes to red. So what I'm going to do is just select all of that and move it up off the grid. And I'm moving that up to the information guide. And when I click it, the guide rules change from blue to red. You see it moves up. And I'll do that with the same ones at the bottom here. Moving them up. I'm clicking and dragging so I get the 2 boxes. Then just move up. Then I'll get that box. And then what I'm going to do is lock that. And to see that I've done that correctly, you can just view your grids. You can knock it off. You can put it back on again. And the same with the information, you can knock it off. So you should end up with something looking like that if you want a 1 column or a 2 column grid. And that is how you set up a 34 document in InDesign to get ready to send to print. Thank you very much. David Atkinson at Glasgow Clyde College.